James Gallo. We haven't talked to him in a while, joining us, voice of the Moose Jaw Warriors. James, like last year, you worked until June. And this year, you get, you know what? You got the banner last year, though, right? I was talking to Rip, too. I said, you get to kick back and relax a bit.
Yeah, good for the mind, right? It's a 2-year haul, right? So it's going to be a good time to recharge. And you know what, Barney? It's never a bad time to start on the dad bod early, right? So that'll be the big thing to work on in the next couple of months.
What do you got?
Yeah, what are you saying there?
Rowing machine. You got doing a little jogging. What are you going to do?
You know what? Well, it started back in February. I'm probably about a 2.5 to 3.5 mile a day guy. Plus, whatever weights I can toss around. So it's maybe a small, compact frame, but it's a well-tuned machine.
Yeah, attaboy. Moose Jaw this year, did the fans, did the community, because it was so awesome last year and the support was fantastic, did the fans in the community, did they get it, kind of where you are now? Are they savvy hockey fans to know kind of what a rebuild and or what it was all about?
I think they got it, right? I think they understood what Jason paid last year. It was an all-in move, right? And it was an all-in move that worked, which was, thankfully, it worked, right? I think this year they kind of knew the writing was on the wall for a lot of potential moves. And then when they started to come, they kind of knew it. And again, on the fans, the support was there from day one. They understood what we were going on. And you got to credit General Manager Jason Ripplinger as well, open and honest in everything that he said. Right after every trade that was being done, every move that was being done, and you think about post-trade deadline, he was honest to say that, we paid the price last year. You have to restock the shelves. You have to get ready to run once more. And it's not only that, Barney. It's these younger guys that you have. They have to play. Right? Like these young guys have to play, and it's great to have the big names in the lineup. But I look at someone like Riley Thorpe, who's 16 years old, 11th round pick, and he ended up centering the top line with Lyndon Lakovich and Pavel McKenzie when season was done. He maybe doesn't get to that spot if you keep a lot of older guys and put duct tape on a situation and try and just to sneak into the playoffs.
It's interesting you mentioned Riley Thorpe, because obviously that's going to be a cornerstone as you build going forward, a 16-year-old that's playing on your first line. What other players would you say are going to be really key ingredients as part of this rebuild?
I think there's always a lot, right? Like, Lyndon Lakovich is the guy. When you look at the older age groups, you start with Lyndon Lakovich, who will be 19 years old next year, hopefully an NHL first-round pick. Pavel McKenzie is a 20-year-old from Cumberland House, Saskatchewan. Ethan Semenuk, Aiden Ziprick. I think you got to look at those guys. If you want to think about some of the younger guys, Connor Schmidt on the back end, to me, in the second half, took that extra step. Nolan Paquette on the back end took that extra step. And, a lot of this year, we had a lot of APs flowing in and out of the lineup. And a guy that I think a lot of fans are going to get excited about is Colt Carter. He was the prospect acquired from the Lethbridge Hurricanes and the Braden Yager and Jackson Unger trade. And at 15 years old, guys, he was the highest scoring defenseman in U18 Alberta. And that's a pretty impressive feat. He was the highest scoring defenseman in U15 last year, highest scoring defenseman in U18 this year. Cohen Williams had a great year playing out at OHA Penticton. There's a lot of good young players coming in, and I think that's what we're excited about, is to see how they can take their next steps in their development.
You mentioned, Lyndon Lakovich, and I hear it. I think first rounder for sure. Not that I've ever been to the NHL draft and had a say in things. Also next year, though, as a 19, he could be the most sought after forward for teams in the Western Hockey League at some point.
Could be, right? I mean, could be that situation. We'll see. Right. I mean, that's probably the best thing. That's probably not the answer that you and your listeners want to hear. But
no. Hey, we talk about it for sure on the mic. But he's a player, man. Like and I could even see it last year, and I'm like,
he's got everything, right? I mean, he's got size, he's got speed, he's got skill. He will be honest with his assessment to say that he needs that little bit of extra. I remember being at I can't remember if it was in Spokane on the U.S. road trip or in Saginaw at the Memorial Cup, and I was talking to his mom, and just a great lady, and she said at some point, James, he's got to live up to the name on the back of his jersey. right? So it's like,
Called him
I thought
out.
that was great. Oh, well, his uncle, right? His uncle's pretty tough. He needs no introduction. His other uncle played in the Western Hockey League. His dad's a pretty tough customer as well. I'm not saying a drop in the gloves is what he wants, but I think he's got everything that any team would want when you look at the National Hockey League. And he was injured for 6 weeks, and it was a great opportunity for him to showcase his personality to these NHL teams. And a lot of the scouts that I talked to had said that just a complete joy to talk to. And I said, I know, right? Like he's a great kid, and he loves the game. And the other thing, guys, is he scored arguably 2 of the biggest goals in Moose Jaw Warrior history. Right, Game 6 overtime against Saskatoon in the conference final, and Game 7 overtime in Saskatoon in the conference final. So he can perform at the biggest stage, and I think that's also that a lot of teams need to take consideration.
If Les Lazaruk's listening right now, he's throwing something. Oh,
Les knows I love him.
Where's that vodka? Yeah, you know what? You get to watch a lot of hockey. There's if you had to say the team this year that reminds you of last year's Moose Jaw Warrior team, who would that be in the playoffs this year, James?
That's a great question. Never really thought about it. That team last year was just so unique. I don't know if I could give you, especially in the Eastern Conference, right? Just because I don't get a lot of Western Conference games because I'm old and I want to go to bed at a decent time, and the 2-hour time difference is a little hard.
Because you get up jogging and lifting.
Because I get up jogging and working out, right? But you know what? A team I like in the Eastern Conference is the Calgary Hitmen, and what I like about them is starting net. Daniel Hauser is, I think, tremendous. He burnt Moose Jaw for years in his time with the Winnipeg Ice. He can perform on a big stage. Their back end, I think, is probably one of the best back ends that you'll find in the Western Hockey League, maybe even the Canadian Hockey League. They have depth, which is great. They've got 2 really good lines that can score. They maybe have one of the best lines with Kindle, Talk up front with Tanner Howe. That's an amazing line. And a guy that doesn't get, I think, a lot of press outside of Calgary's Carson Wentz, their captain. And the reason why I say that, and maybe why he maybe reminds me of a little bit some of the guys from last year's team, he can play that heavy style that you need right now, right? I mean, this is not the time to be perimeter. This is the time, yep. to put your work boots on. And as we talked about last year, we recoined it here in Moose Jaw, go to Atlee Calvert's office in front of the net, score in the hard areas. And I think for me, Carson Wentz can do that. And I like the Hitmen. They're a team. There's something about them that I really, really like their style of play.
So we talked earlier in the week and maybe an upset or two or a series that we think is going to go a little deeper. I think Brandon can take Lethbridge. That's my personal thought. And I think the best series to watch is going to be PA and Edmonton. I think that's got the potential to go 7 games. Your thoughts on those two?
On those two, I think first the Lethbridge-Brandon series. Let's call a spade. All the expectation and pressure is on the Lethbridge Hurricanes. Yep. It's similar to what Moose Jaw and Saskatoon had last year. They're built to run. They're hoping for a long playoff push because if you don't get to where you want to be when you give up all those assets, it's a hard pill to swallow. I've been on that side of things as well.
You don't go grocery shopping. You go late at night shopping. Get it delivered.
Right, at 100%, with the paper bag over top so no one sees you. But in that series, guys, to me, I think a big key. I like the Brandon Wheat Kings. I think they did a lot without Roger McQueen, and I'm a huge Roger McQueen fan. I think again, similar to Lakovic, he has all those tools, but he has that edge. In the Warriors' first round series against Brandon last year, as a 17-year-old, I thought he was their best player, hands down. He's back. I know he's been playing. I don't know the extent of how healthy he is. I'm assuming he's healthy enough. But to me, in that series, it's Carson Bjarnason. And he's the goaltender of the Brandon Wheat Kings. To me, he's got to be the second-round signed NHL draft pick of the Philadelphia Flyers, right? Like, he needs to outduel Jackson Unger the way that Jackson Unger outdueled several quality goaltenders in last year's playoffs. So to me, Carson Bjarnason is a huge key for the Brandon Wheat Kings. But I could see it. I can see where you're coming from on that, especially with the games in Brandon being played in Verdun, right? So it's a neutral site game, so it's a little bit of a smaller rink. The Prince Albert and Edmonton series, I think. Yeah, right. I mean, no more going to Winnipeg. They can't go to Winnipeg, and I believe Nipawa and Portage are both in the MJ playoffs, so they're off to Verdun, which is a great place. It's a great hockey town. Prince Albert, Edmonton, I do agree with you. I think I know it's a 2-7. I don't think it's a 2-7. I think it maybe more suits out as a 4-5 in terms of how close it could be. It's I think Prince Albert has the edge goaltending wise. It's just my opinion, because Max Hildebrandt to me is a great story of development. He was a 13th round pick for the Prince Albert Raiders. I mean, he came into the hub when we had that season, didn't play, but just absorbed everything, and I think has made a push to be a nominee for goalie of the year for sure. The other side, like Edmonton starters, they have Ethan Simcoe, they have Alex Worthington. I'm assuming it's going to be Worthington. They got to be better than Max Hildebrandt. For the Raiders, the line for me to be worried about is the Adam Yeko, Miroslav Holenka, and Gavin Hodnett-Light. They completely torched Moose Jaw this year. They looked like an NHL line against us at times. Holenka and Yeko are skilled, they're fast, and they're big. And, they've got big game experience playing for Czechia at the World Juniors. Gavin Hodnett does his thing. And, that's a dangerous line. And the other thing, too, is Grayson Sauchin is probably the best player in the Western Hockey League that not everybody's talking about. That's how good he is. And, the puck finds the stick of his younger brother, Lucas, and they're a team that I think if they can get on a roll, they could be tough to stop in the first round. But again, I think environment's a big thing, and there is probably not a better environment for playoff hockey than the Art Hauser Center in Prince Albert. It is amazing. It is amazing. So
bring your milk crates.
Yeah.
Stand in the back.
Oh, it's the best. They are
awesome.
They are so passionate. Moose Jaw played Prince Albert in 2 out of 3 years one time. And, the 1 year Moose Jaw was the lower seed that was Braden Points last year, knocked out Prince Albert in 5. And it was just, we were scared to get to the bus, it felt like. And then the next time was 17-18 when Prince Albert was the 8th seed, and they pushed Moose Jaw to 7 games, and it was a great series. But it was that if you've never been to a playoff game at the Art Hauser Center in Prince Albert, go.
You missed it.
It's worth the money. Go 100%.
Yeah. It is. Okay, quickly before I let you go, you've been in the league a long time, called a lot of games. The NCAA ruling earlier this year, when that came out, what was your take on it? Did you see it coming? And what's your take on it now? What's going to happen with the Western Hockey League? Are we going to see it older? We're going to see younger? What's your take?
I don't know. I think, could we see it coming? Maybe not until, when Braxton Whitehead had his commitment to Arizona State with the Regina Pats, then you maybe thought something's going to happen. I think it's if it's an opportunity for the players that can help them, then it's good. So that's the way I view it. But it's also sometimes the shiny new car is not the best option for your budget. So, and U-Sport is absolutely amazing. University Cup is one of the best tournaments in Canada that no one talks about. It's fantastic. Player-wise, it's tough to tell if we'll get older, if we'll get younger. I think only time will tell with that. But I think the nice thing, guys, is that the Western Hockey League is going to be the place to be to watch the best 16 to 20-year-old players on our side. Going east, it is what it is, but you're going to see the best, and there's no more red flags, right? If you want an NCAA scholarship, you can still do that in the Western Hockey League. So. And maybe the Western Hockey League maybe fits you a little bit more when you get here. So it's exciting. It's nervous, right? Because there's a lot of unknowns. But I think at the end of the day, we'll see what happens.
And what do we got? About a minute and a half here. Probably not surprised about Penticton. Chilliwack, though? What's your take on the expansion?
Chilliwack, I was fortunate enough to call some games in Chilliwack, or one, maybe 2, when they were in the league so far long ago. It's a great town. It's a great facility. So I think that's if they go down that road, I think it's a good market to be in. I think Penticton's exciting. We always hear on our side of the Rockies about the Penticton V's and the support and the program that they have. Well, now we get to see it firsthand, and I think that's exciting. I think it also makes a great little triangle rivalry with Kamloops and Kelowna, similar to what we have here with Regina, Moose Jaw, and Swift Current, except we're a straight line. So geography is going to help them out, but it's exciting. I mean, we won't get there for another 2 years, but it'll be exciting to have Penticton in the league.
It's all good.
Are you going to take in any of the curling? Maybe have a few pints, or are you off that while you're training here?
You know what? To be 5'9" of twisted steel and sex appeal takes a lot of determination, Barney. So I don't know if I'll be dieseling draft beers throughout the course of the day, but I might poke my head in every now and then. But probably more so. I'm headed off to the AAA game tonight. That's what I'm going to want to watch. And of course, now that the NHL East Coast games were on earlier, I know I'll be watching that as well.
Well, we'll probably see you at the Sixer tonight. Get there early. It's gonna be
that's what I've been told. Yeah,
right.
It's gonna be awesome.
All right. Thanks, James.
Thanks, guys, for having me. Appreciate it. Have a good day.
You too.
Voice of the Moose Jaw Warriors, James Gallo.